So I'm talking to Brian Berg, who is Vice Chair of the History Committee of the IEEE, the Institute for Electrical and Electronics Engineers. Mm-hmm. Brian, what exactly does IEEE do, and what does it have to do with the Internet on this 50th anniversary of the Internet that we're celebrating?
Well, that's a big question. But basically, IEEE is an international organization. It's the largest organization of technical professionals, particularly in the electrical and electronics engineers fields. And there's about 460,000 members worldwide. So we're in 190 countries. So we really do span the globe. So certainly there's many things that are in the western part of the world that are, have a longer history, shall we say. But we try to be very inclusive with people around the world for their benefit so that they will learn about history, that they'll be exposed to technology, and basically for the betterment of humanity.
Is it mostly a historical organization where you document what's gone on? Do you engage in actually pushing technology forward?
Yes, we definitely push technology forward because there are many IEEE standards that are managed by IEEE. In fact, probably the most successful IEEE standards group is the IEEE 802 committee, which just today received an IEEE milestone for its efforts. Those efforts include Ethernet, Wi-Fi in particular, and many other areas. So that's really the most successful IEEE standards group and potentially the most successful standards group in the world because communications is such an important area. So, but that's only one part of it. Part of it is also to, you mentioned about history. One aspect of it is the History Center that is part of IEEE. Part of the History Center is the History Committee, and I'm vice chair of that. Part of the History Committee's duties is to manage the IEEE Milestones program, and I'm chair of the Milestones subcommittee of the IEEE History Committee.
And how do you measure a milestone? Do you set a milestone and say when somebody reaches this, that'll be a milestone? Or do you wait for somebody to accomplish something first and say, that was a milestone?
It's really the latter. Probably the best way to put it is that when you look at technology in the world today, there's often a long thread that runs from whatever we're doing to many years in the past. There's really a continuum of sorts. But within that continuum are various points in time where very important accomplishments happen. So the purpose of the History Committee includes these milestones, of which 255 have been dedicated so far as of today, since we dedicated 3 more today. And these milestones honor something important in technology, an important accomplishment, sometimes an important location, but basically something that is integral to the way the world operates with regard to technology.
Now, when you say that the ultimate goal of IEEE is to benefit humanity, what does that look like? What would you regard as a benefit? Higher living standard, for example, or something else?
Well, we all live with technology in some form or another. With regard to that, if you just look at technology itself, I wouldn't say it has a rough edge, but it has a way of maybe being beneficial to humanity, but also there's negative aspects. So IEEE's goals are inclusive of making sure that technology is available, but also that it's used properly and managed properly. So IEEE has many tentacles of impact in the world. We have people actually working with the United Nations to ensure that technology is used properly in various parts of the world and in other institutions around the world. So it's really a very much a global organization of which I'm just a small part. But there's many people who play a small part who together can play a very big role, I think, in ensuring that technology is able to benefit humanity.
Would you say it's largely an advisory organization? Someone says, I have an ethical problem here, I don't know the answer, let's consult IEEE.
We actually, very interestingly, frankly, I'm not totally versant on all the current activities, but I do know that there's been a real focus on those kinds of issues because those have really become a big focus of the news today. Like, you can think of the benefits of technology. There's going to be many positive benefits, but also many abuses. So those abuses have to be managed. There needs to be somebody helping to ensure that those don't hurt humanity. So IEEE, I feel, is playing an important role to ensure that there's an important balance in the benefit so that people are not damaged.
Now today we're talking about the 50th anniversary of the Internet. What role has IEEE played in the history of the Internet?
That's a really important question, because what happened is Vint Cerf and Bob Kahn wrote a paper in 1973, and it was published by IEEE as a technical paper in 1974. The most critical aspect of it is it created what was called a network of networks. At that point in time, there was something called the ARPANET that already had existed and had come online in late 1968. And so the ARPANET was something that had connected universities and some institutions together. What the difficulty that was, though, is sometimes getting those entities to be able to communicate with each other, to coexist with each other, and to effectively and easily communicate back and forth with each other. So this paper that Cerf and Kahn wrote, and it was published in 1974, described a technology called Transport Control Protocol, or TCP, which later also became TCP/IP. And by 1983, that was set forth by the US government as the means by which the ARPANET was going to transition to become a network of networks. And that is really, you can think of the foundation for the Internet was laid in 1974, and work was done in the subsequent 9 years leading up to 1983, when the Internet really became reality.
So would you say that we should all be very happy that the Internet has developed the way it has? Is this a great boon to the human race?
It's a great boon, but of course, as we've been discussing, there's certainly negative aspects. And so IEEE is very well aware of these as well. So they see the positive aspects. They're trying to temper the negative aspects, which is a difficult process. But if you're a large organization like IEEE is, with 460,000 members worldwide, you have the ability to have leverage, to be an entity that can be trusted, to be able to lend a helping hand and consult and help advise on new directions so that technologies will not be harmful.
How does one get into IEEE? If you're an engineer, do you just apply to become a member?
You can just apply to become a member, that's correct. There's different levels of membership. There's a senior member. I'm a senior member. I had to be recommended to become a senior member. There's also fellows of IEEE, which is an echelon above that. Those are the basic levels. There's also student levels as well of membership.
Okay. So if you had a minute or so to tell the public what you think is the most important thing for them to know about either the Internet or IEEE, what would you tell them?
I would say that IEEE strives to ensure that standards are followed so that the Internet and other technologies, because there's many technologies beyond the Internet that are managed by IEEE standards bodies and organizations. So these different technologies need to be managed so that they can thrive and grow and benefit people. But there also needs to be the realization that there are potential harmful side effects of these things that need to be understood, and organizations around the world need to be advised by technical people who understand these things, who can help advise them. For example, IEEE was very instrumental in helping with the recently passed CHIPS Act in the US. They had people on Capitol Hill who advised aspects of the CHIPS Act so that it could be beneficial to the United States, because it was realized the US was losing its leverage and its position with regard to being able to establish itself as a major entity with regard to technology and making of semiconductors. That realization was understood, and the US government was advised on how best to do that with the CHIPS Act, so the IEEE played an important role in crafting some of the portions of that act.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap?
Sure. So the thing that I've been involved with is history. I have a love of history. I'm really interested in the backgrounds of things and the stories that people have to tell. So I think one of the things that I've contributed is initiation of various IEEE milestones which recognize important accomplishments in history. We recognize the people and the places that have been important in this. we try to make sure that that history is recorded correctly so that people will look back and realize how this happened with known accuracy of the people involved, the things that happened, and a true record of history.